Live streaming is on.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to our last session for today. I hope you all have like your napkins or tissues ready because we're all super sad, of course, or happy tears. Just don't tell me which one it is. It's fine as long as you cry, all right? But yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. It always goes super fast for me. This time, as a matter of fact, it went so fast that I have not started nearly early enough to prepare for cohort 4. Because, of course, exclusively because you guys kept me so interested in cohort 3, which actually is almost true. But no, I don't know what happened. So cohort 4 will not start right at the end of this one. So I'm still working on that. For anyone watching who is interested in potentially being a part of this, reach out. You still have time. After cohort 4, there will be 5, and after that, 6, and so forth. Anyway, at least as of now, that's the plan. So keep those applications coming if you want to be held accountable in a setting like this. Besides that, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Thumbs up, general thumbs up. All right, good, fair enough. Did you guys want to say anything other than we'll share this tidbit Connor just told us, I guess, on the channel here too, that France is the country with the most time zones in the world, which is 12. And we won't say more than that because we were all surprised. If whoever wants to explain it in the comments, go ahead. Because it didn't make sense to me, certainly, until Connor read the explanation. I guess you could, like someone who has a more geographical understanding and geopolitical, I guess, understanding of the world can come to that conclusion.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed. I felt very confident that my when I was looking at the map, when laid out, and but no, obviously, it's not quite the reason. Yeah, I'll refrain from giving the reason. We'll let anybody who's watching this live go ahead and start Googling and try to find the answer.
All right.
But it is true. France has time zones.
So I guess just like we usually did, we'll jump right into it. I am super curious. As usual, I have not watched the videos myself yet because I'm trying to get the same kind of effect you guys get of getting your updates in real time, which really is fun for me. So today we're going to start with Elliot. Oops, that's the wrong command. And see how far he has come throughout the cohort with Dying on a Farm.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the final recap of Dying on a Farm. I gave myself a fail, and we'll dive into that. So I did do well on the success criteria. We chose an idea day one. You guys made it really easy. It was nice to have people to talk to. I did learn Card, which was a no-code tool, and I did play with Harmony, which was, it was not for my project, but it's because of this cohort, so I included that. And I did really make progress on just an idea in a short amount of time. I did not tweet every day. I did 0 blogs, and I did attend every check-in. So here you can see my plan, and I really did succeed each week, even if it wasn't in this specific order. I did accomplish everything I wanted to, and then some, especially with talking to potential customers or partners. I think I said 5 to 10, and by this last weekend, I talked to upwards of 20 different potential customers. So that was really great. Twitter, I didn't add anything here because I used it, and I see the value of it. It's just hard for me to get out there and put out content. I'll get to that more in the next slide, but I did interviews. There was some lull in the middle of the session, but I talked to plenty of people. So looking ahead, yeah, I'm gonna continue. I think I'm just gonna, as I might have mentioned last week, I'm gonna choose a day and really just have an event. Um, what you might have noticed I struggle with here is, am I a content creator? Do I want to be? I do think that is how you can form a business that is online and does work, but I need to figure out if that's right for me. So I'm going to start with just an event and take it from there.
Awesome. Elliot, do you want to say anything else to this, or you want to just open up
Um,
for final recap discussion?
what do I want to say? Yeah, just, it was interesting. I kind of filled out the slideshow in order. So I was at the first slide and I was like, well, I got to give myself a fail. Like I know I didn't blog, and that was like a big thing. But I then impressed myself when I was like, oh, I actually did everything I told I was going to do. So it was a weird mix of like feeling accomplishment and like dissatisfied. But yeah, and then sort of the content thing. And I know I saw Martin shaking his head, and maybe can relate with the YouTube video and how your channel has changed over time. Like you have to figure out what works for you. So that's, I guess, what I need to do. And yeah, I appreciate all the conversation we've had. It did keep me moving each week.
Hey, Elliot.
Yeah, I would be really curious to know about what your learnings now mostly were from talking to people.
Oh yeah, and I didn't even mention that. Right. I mean, yeah. So the weekend I had like tons of great conversations. What did I learn? Just that people they would want to come, they would want to learn. They're totally up for bringing their own. It's like, how do I make the event sustainable? And people said, oh, like I'll bring my own. I'm used to bring my own Tupperware to the farmer's market, so I'll bring my own plate and fork to the farm. I don't need it to be fancy. I do want to learn from the farmer, like their process in the field. I'd like to pick a fruit or a berry if I can. Transportation for New York City, that came up a couple times. They said, I was like, oh yeah, maybe we can go around and pick people up. And somebody was like, well, why don't you just have a bus, like go to where the market is on, whatever Monday or Tuesday afternoon. And that's where people can get on it. So yeah, I have some notes and names of people and that are, that are in. They're like, yep, a lot of people have kids that said, oh, it sounds fun for them. So I think I got the feedback that family friendly is good. And they don't really need entertainment besides just like a tour and information about the farm.
And maybe a goat for the kids somewhere.
Yeah, animals are good.
Hey, Elliot, first of all, great job. Came a long way in such a short amount of time, and super glad and inspired to have seen you stick with it, and that you're going to continue to stick with it. Quick couple things. One thing, have you ever heard of, I know you're in New York, so you maybe not, but the Veg Fest that goes down here in Bonita Springs?
I have not.
Of any maybe like vegan festival that goes on in your area? I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, it's New York, so I'm sure there's like a, vegan saltine festival that I don't know about.
And what I'll also do is I'm going to send you maybe like I'll find the 2019 one. They obviously didn't have one last year. 2019. No, they did. Yeah, it was early 2020. It was early enough that they did have one in 2020. I'm going to send you the event details because they're going to have probably a lot of good info maybe you can pull from in regards to the bring your own recycle bag. No plastic was allowed there. You could not have plastic on property. Like if anybody saw you have plastic, you had to throw it out. Like you couldn't even bring it. Like water bottles, stuff like that. Again, I apologize for the beeps, the things. Other thing, based on your time commitment and just the availability you have for it, and knowing that this is such a platform or service that would be relied a lot on the experience of it. It's the experience is what you're selling. Maybe consider looking for a partner who has a strength in user interface, in design, and user experience to delegate some of that responsibility, to help you some of the marketing, the design, could even maybe help with some of the designing of whatever platform, whatever you do put together, but ultimately will help maybe provide that perspective of somebody that has experience in user experience themselves.
Yeah. That makes sense? Yep. I mean, and I know finding the right partner to really help, see things through. I can't do it all myself. There's got to be somebody else that, makes a couple things happen. And I did talk to, I go to the farmers market. I work for an organization that runs about 15 markets around the city. And so I talked to our marketing person who was like, yeah, we've always talked about doing it. We just haven't done it. So, I don't want to do it as an employee. I want to do it on my own, but they're open to, supporting and being involved, which is just great because they have thousands of people on their email list already. They, it's the right partner to have.
If I might, I'd challenge your self-described status of fail. You hit your marks. You made tremendous progress. But more than that, the things that you marked yourself as being deficient on, which were the tweets and the blog posts, the theory is to get out of the building, right? To be communicating with your customers and to be communicating with your community and be doing so with consistency. Tweets and blog posts are two means that they're just media, right? You were in media. You were going to the farmers markets. You were communicating with your potential customer base and doing so on a regular basis in a way that was probably far more meaningful for the development of your business and the hypothesis of it than doing 28 tweets in a row. So I would say you've had a smashing success, and I congratulate you for it.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the other thing I'll mention is the no code. When I was starting this, I thought that was, I wanted to play around with some no code tools and a mix between just learning Card real quick and then playing around with Harmony actually to just see what those tools are like was a big a success just on its own because learning what tools are out there is super important in any business.
Yeah, and so to kind of follow up on what Ray was saying there, right? Success and failure. I'm struggling for this cohort with those two words because I totally agree. For your project, it was 100% a success, right? I would also look at it like that. Now, technically, how that slide at least was laid out, right? And from the cohort requirements, yes, you didn't tweet and blog, but and I would actually very much look forward to you guys' thoughts, after on Slack or later if we have time, on what might be a better format, right? Because over the last 3 cohorts, I certainly already recognize Twitter or blogs. The format's not for everyone. That's merely where we started, and I made it a requirement because some people need to be forced, right, to do it because you need to build a habit, whatever that is. However, I could imagine, for example, that you just need to choose your way of building in public, and then you will be forced to do that, right? Whatever you elect, just like your success criteria. So that might be a better way going forward. But again, I also agree. Success, you are continuing, you have customer validation. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I'll agree with that. I think you've done a great success. And the thing that I think has been really valuable for you is your strengths and your weaknesses, and you want to lean into your strengths. So knowing that you're not a content creator and you're not going to do the stories means that you don't have to worry about that. You can lean into the things that you're comfortable with and can excel with, rather than feeling that pressure to do something that just it's got to feel right. So I think that's a success for you as well.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I might throw in one last thing here, just before we move on, which is that that content's going to be really valuable for your marketing proposition for building up. You know that you don't want to be the person who creates the content, but what you can be is the person who collects it. If you're going to these farmers markets, you can be collecting the stories of others. Let them be the content and tell the story. That's their favorite. People's favorite subject is always themselves. And if you can be in a position of being the communitarian and connector that you've already shown yourself to have great talent for being, you can leverage that into multiple assets that drive economic value and drive community value. And one of those can be the content if you just allow people to do it for you. They will do it for free. And in fact, you're offering the benefit of actually publishing either through video or words or whatever, what they have to say.
Yeah, people do like to talk about themselves.
Yeah, I think we had this recurring theme actually for you, right? Like it seems like this keeps coming up as ideas, but I relate, Elliot. You guys are my content, right? And I yet struggle to put it out on Twitter and YouTube myself as well. So, all right, cool. Let's look at Harmony CB next. I'm always terrified to accidentally click the wrong button because share a YouTube video and live stream are right next to each other.
Hi, co-starting cohort. Here's Catherine with the last check-in on Harmony CB. Yeah, this cohort was a success for us. We reached the goals that we aimed for. We got Harmony CB ready for the launch. We launched, and we also evaluated the usability. Originally, we were more focused on signups, but actually we found that usability was more valuable for our learnings and progress. And we tweeted every day, we wrote a blog every week, and we attended all the check-in events, assuming I'm there now. And yeah, for a timeline, we very much progressed towards the launch in the first 2 weeks, launched and then focused on the usability testing where we originally aimed for 3 people. But I actually think now we did 7, and I feel like that was very helpful because we actually found a lot of commonalities between people. We now also basically already analyzed all the feedback and actually started developing the new strategy of focusing in on an industry vertical and a use case. We actually are looking right now also at insurance companies, and I found it very interesting because it's doing customer discovery is definitely very different now in COVID times. And on the one hand, I find it very easy to reach out to people on LinkedIn. People accept my requests. I already have some customer discovery interviews scheduled for this week. At the same time, I feel like it would be much faster if I could go to a physical event and just speak to 10 people in 1 hour. But yeah, if you have some recommendations with regards to customer discovery, especially if you know any groups where there are digital meetups other than meetup.com, because I didn't find that too helpful yet for insurance companies, but I'll check it again. But yeah, if you know any other pages like meetup.com or so for business, then I would love to know about it. Yeah, we also started the redesign already of and already implemented some of the usability issues that people experienced in the testing. So yeah, thank you.
Did the video just bug out for a second for you as well?
It was all fine for us.
Okay, weird. Then it was just me. Good, because I was checking it back and I was like, did I not realize it while I was watching it?
All fine.
Oh, great. But yeah, I mean, I already did 2 interviews now with insurance brokers, and it's very helpful. And I also noticed LinkedIn is very useful for reaching out to people. And on the same day, I get about 20% acceptance rate, and then it goes up, a few days after, because not everyone checks on the same days. And seems like people are very open, and I also get in that industry, apparently there's definitely people are looking to innovate and to be competitive, so they're curious about me and what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, I still feel like it's really slow, because you just send a request and then the person needs to check it and you have to ask for the meeting, and it feels like when I read about customer discovery in other places, they're like, yeah, just spend 1 week, and then focus on building your product. And it's like, in 1 week, I'm just having the requests accepted. And it's really hard to progress faster now. And yeah, I don't know if you have recommendations as well as to which platforms might be interesting other than meetup.com or LinkedIn for this digital outreach, especially with more insurance focus or enterprise focus. So it would be interesting if you have ideas.
The only thing that comes to mind here is like, I don't know anything about the insurance industry, but if you do speak to some people who are in the insurance industry, ask them, where else do you hang out? Where do you get your source of information? What communities? Let them be your beacon of light. And hopefully there will be a place where they hang out, and it's not a case of, oh, I just use LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Good idea. I will make a note, like ask them in the interview.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. With LinkedIn, I don't know how spammy you're willing to be or how many people you're going to reach out to, but I used to use a tool called Octopus CRM, and it does like LinkedIn automation. And I found it successful. I didn't add hundreds of people every day, but I had I think I had a goal of connecting with 10 to 20 each day. And so you could set that up, and you add people to a list and it does it all for you. I felt a little bad, but like you said, if you get a lot of people that are actually like happy to reach out, so it's kind of a numbers game.
Yeah, I'm using Duck Soap just for like doing the first message. I feel like once you can only personalize it so much, and then after that, you can also generally check who you actually want to write to. But just to do this whole send message, I use Duck Soap. But yeah, I mean, after the second message or after the first message, during the second message, I feel like if you're not writing it, or at least to some degree,
right, then you need to be yourself.
Work, yeah. I mean,
it also sounds like it's a bit of a pipeline. So you're going to spend like a week just getting your initial seed, but if you don't keep that up, then it'll go dry. It's basically sales. And there's a book I read that if sales go dry, the question is not what you're doing wrong today, it's what you were doing wrong 3 months ago. And usually you took your foot off the gas at building your pipeline because the times were good. And in 3 months' time, you're wondering what's going on and you're frantic. So you have to be thinking, what I do today, like the result of that is 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks' time.
Hey, Ray, I know you've been trying to say something. You want to jump in? So just going off. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that, man. We're all a little leggy. The comment I was going to make was, if you have a hypothesis that insurance brokers are your target market, look at it from the point of view of insurance brokers instead of looking at it from the point of view of individuals. There are professional associations for insurance brokers. There are Slacks, there are LinkedIn groups, there are Facebook groups for insurance brokers. And you have a story that basically helps them make money, right, through the creation of like custom forms to get their clients onboarded and through whatever the owner's process is of getting into the actual insurance company. You create competitive advantage for them. It's actually kind of a compelling story. But if you come at it from the point of view of you're about insurance instead of you're about a no-code tool, I think that tells you about the content you can create. I think it tells you about the channels you can use that are more specific. And if you don't get uptake, then you have disqualified the market, right? And that's really what we're trying to do, is you're trying to validate that market. Anyway, that was the thought I had. Go ahead, Connor.
It's great, definitely a great thought, right? And so going off of kind of Martin's point regarding the timeline, the sales cycles of some of these enterprise clients, for the past few years, with our experience working with schools, certainly one with a much longer sales cycle than insurance companies, one thing you might run into is the need to rely on a heavy and strict budget that, just like Martin kind of referred to, has been set months and months ago. And so you need to kind of maybe be aware, again, maybe this isn't very specific to your sector, but it very much could be. So maybe start probing at this in interviews. Is there could be a time of the year, a season of the year, whatever it be, their fiscal calendar year, when they are really locking down that budget, and maybe different companies have a little bit more flexible, a little bit more breathing room throughout the year than others do. But I'd say that's something to start probing at, to make sure that you're getting with those companies at the right time of the year, getting those meetings at the right time of the year. So come purchasing time, you've already been in their budget, they've allocated it further.
Yeah, good thought. Thanks.
Yeah, and I would also take what Ray was saying, and with the ones you're already talking to, create those case studies, right? Because that's the stuff you can then easily share when you find those groups where they hang out. Insurance is the first one you're looking at, like, in depth now, and you can go one-to-one, right? With that, that's Martin is doing some of that work, right? Like, look at it. What is your tool good for individual industries? Have that as Harmony CB for insurance, Harmony CB for airlines, right? I don't know if airlines will be a fit, but we talked about it on Twitter.
And just to throw this out there, you could run a podcast for the insurance industry, and they're going to want to tell everyone that, hey, we're on this podcast internally, and sort of seed it that way.
Yeah, I think that you are on an interesting track, and now I'm throwing in one more even. But I think you are in industries with that where there's a lot of companies, but there's also a lot of individuals who are their own company, and even under one agency, right, or under however that is structured. So you can get a lot of distribution if you get in with one who is your champion, right? So you might want to kind of explore that or exploit that, almost bake that into the product. I don't know if that's a referral bonus or just really truly the product being great, right? But that would be super cool if you can kind of loop in that virality factor somehow.
Yeah, thanks.
All righty. Next one is Martin.
Good evening, co-stars and cohort. I have to say I failed because I didn't deliver the key features that I set out to deliver to help me test whether I can build a habit around my note-taking using the Flowtelic app. I'm in flight with those features. But let's look at what I did succeed with. I did launch the study notes and the study notes status. In fact, I went even further and had the whole workflow status for projects as well. But I haven't launched the what I call focus modes to be able to batch process your study notes and organize them into your knowledge management system. In terms of commitments, I pretty much tweet a lot. I think I tweeted every day. YouTube, yep, I launch a video every week. That's my equivalent of blogging. And I've attended all the check-ins. And then in terms of, the progress, it kind of went well until I changed my content strategy a bit, until basically the final push to get the product ready. I did run out a bit of time. I have spent a lot of time on the YouTubes, which has eaten into some of that time as well. And then just like the complexity of the software has gone up a little bit. But I know what I'm doing. I just need to chip away at it. So, and then finally, the KPIs. What are the actions? So the recap here. So views in the last 7 days, I'm up to 2.3 thousand, up from 282. That's amazing. Subscribers, I've broken the 500 mark. Subscribers, I'm really thrilled at. And the mailing list, 192 on the mailing list, which blows my mind. That's really awesome. And that's just growing continually every day now. And then, so what's the next steps? I basically continue one step at a time. This has always been the strategy. Chip away and release as often as you can and build in public, right? That's the goal. So I want to double down on the YouTube and build a targeted audience, continue the build in public, releasing often. I want to prove the product works first, then switch to a monetization strategy. And I want to explore community and groups to build brand awareness, do more stuff, give more stuff back. And that helps the personal branding around it. And most importantly, to have fun. One of my favorite things is there are no failures. There are just deferred successes. So, strictly speaking, I couldn't, I entered this with a goal to produce the functionality that will help me with my habit building so I could test that, and I haven't done it. So that's why I gave it a failure, but I certainly don't feel that way. I feel like it's been a really enjoyable journey. I feel like the YouTube and the community and finding that, I was thinking today, like if I got known as the note-taking guy on social media, I'd be really happy with that, at least for the next 2-3 years until I step it up into the more bigger vision that I've got. So yeah, but thanks, Sven, for having a really strict success criteria of meeting what I said I was going to do 4 weeks ago. But
you're welcome. Yeah, no, I think it's the same reason than we talked about already, right? Like I think you define your own success, and that's probably where this cohort also needs to go. Like, you're right. These things always sound cheesy, right? But like in startups, I mean, what I preach is you just need to embrace failure. Failure just sounds so negative, but I mean, it is what it is. We fail all the time. We fail every day, right? Like the more often you fail, as long as you stick with it, the faster you're going to be at some success, whatever that means for that project for yourself. So I echo that.
Yeah, I think just to reflect on the experience, it's kind of what we were touching on initially before we came onto the live stream, was the 4 weeks have gone really quickly, but also we've achieved a lot in 4 weeks. And it's almost like things go both fast and slow at the same time. When you've got the bigger projects, that feels like it goes slowly. But when you've got the smaller momentums, once they start picking up, it goes really fast. So this software development on my side, that can take time. So 4 weeks to do one feature in a way it's not unreasonable in some respects, but also is not quick at the same time. So, yeah.
Congrats on the subscribers, though. It's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That one's a personal kind of. I really appreciate that one for two reasons. One, I just want to be able to tell that story of how I got there, so that I can share that. That's really important to me because I've been on the other side for so long, and I guess the other part is finally seeing something that works. Like, I use ConvertKit for my mailing list, and I sort of dipped in and out because I didn't know how to build a mailing list and that. And now I can see that trend happening. It's it's hard to get that initial push, and I think that's where a lot of people struggle. And I want to show the whole building in public. Show that there is just a methodical process. You just chip away, you adapt if it doesn't work, but you've got to have consistency to prove it works. I really enjoy that and seeing it take off. I'm enjoying that.
With regards to actually your product, where is it right now? Because I know you have done some development on it throughout the cohort, right?
Yeah. So if you go to, I could send you to the mailing list sign up where you get the link, or I could just tell you where the link to the app is. You just go to app.flowtelic.com and you just can play with it straight there. But if you want to follow the development, this is for the live stream. If you want to follow the development, it's join.flowtelic.com, and then you drop your email in.
I'll beep that out. Later.
Yeah, so I had that live for a while actually, and I do use it almost daily. I use it as my knowledge capture tool. That moment where you can dog food and use your own product for your own productivity is like really special, because you realize actually this is kind of good in a surprising way. So yeah.
I was just going to ask Martin, given that you had sort of the big success in content and community and making people smarter, right, about note taking and knowledge management, and if the building of the product is something or building of Flowtelic itself is something that is going more slowly or has a greater degree of difficulty, is there a business to be built in the former, right, that you can be monetizing either in advance of or potentially even in lieu of the latter?
It's an interesting question, because my long-term strategy, my 10-year goal, is to give back in terms of knowledge and helping others. The things I care about are things like mindset and helping people find joy, and like using all the things that I've learned to give that back, because it's helped me a lot in what I've learned. I think everybody should learn it, right? That's the cool thing. And how that manifests, I don't know exactly, but I can imagine there's a business around that. To get there, I want to not be a charlatan in terms of being a guru. I actually want to know what I'm talking about at a deep level. That's a personal thing, and it just so happens I need a tool to help me get there. So that's where Flowtelic came in. So it's all part of this longer thing, but certainly building a business around whatever that looks like, the community, the content, whether that forms into mentorship or even some kind of corporate mentorship, those kind of things, that's all on the cards. But I don't know, I'm just leaning into it at the moment. I'm going to let that path kind of reveal itself.
Love it. Fantastic. Yeah, I think I agree with Ray. And I mean, all of your how you're talking about your content creation, right? YouTube and everything we've talked about in the last couple of meetings. You're super passionate about that too. So if it just happens that, I mean, even in this, you can make residual income at the very least. You know, have patron supporters, what have you. One of the channels I really enjoy is a fellow who lives in France from Sweden, builds a marble machine for years, right? Builds this crazy machine. He lives off of this content creation now. His goal is to go on the world tour with the machine he's building. But his business is not that. So I'm super stoked to follow along as you keep going on this road.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I just heard Sven, did you just mention a Patreon? Something about Patreon? Or did I hear that?
As you create, you know, on YouTube, obviously that's a big revenue driver for a lot of creators.
100%. And you know, I'm sure you've had this thought already, Martin, but knowing the direction you want to go with being, you know, the expert, the note taker, the expert in your sector, maybe consider bringing on other experts, and of course, you know, doing podcasts, whatever that be, you know, co-authoring. You know, podcast is the first that really comes to my mind, not co-authoring a blog. Then releasing that not just also through YouTube, but also through your mailing list, and just, you know, having your Patreon. And I think, you know, building such a loyal, such a fan base that is coming to you as, of course, you know, the builder of the product that you're releasing, but also as the expert, and that you're also bringing other experts to them as well. I could totally see, you know, that loyal user base, the audience, you know, supporting you through Patreon. So.
Absolutely. That I haven't figured out how that works yet, but certainly getting that, like, some of the content that I really enjoy is where someone's bringing someone else onto the stage, asking them, interviewing them. I really like that. I need to figure out how to build the network.
Think about it this way: in your 10-year plan, it's going to end up just making you even more of an expert when you're surrounding yourself with, you know, people even more of an expert. And one thing I always heard that I don't know if you know who Tony Robbins is. I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. One thing he had said that really stuck with me one time is think about ways how you can try to accomplish your 10-year plan in 1 year. Most likely you're not going to make it happen, but you're sure as hell going to be a lot farther in that 1 year than you were.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Grant Cardone 10 exit, you know, live your life or do the actions of those who are already successful.
I have mixed feelings about that guy, about Grant.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Yeah. You're on mute.
I am muted, yeah. With that, we're going to go right over to Connor.
Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Connor here for our finale, our final update. So unfortunately, based on our core goals that we set in the beginning, we did not succeed, did not pass go, will not be collecting $200. So big fail right in dead center. No, but it was a great experience, and certainly got a lot done. So looking at our success criteria, we launched, we're live, definitely functional, so check there. Did not obtain 100 professional users. Unfortunately, we'll get to that in a second. Mockups are ready for code. That was the big goal, you know, for our next iterations and some redesigns that we're doing. So those were finished. Cohort commitment, did not tweet every day. I'll be honest, did not get a tweet out every day. Did write a blog every week, and I did, of course, attend all the check-ins. We all know about weeks 1 through 3, which, you know, not to get into detail, but looking back on it, it's like crap. Like we got a lot done in 4 weeks, which is super cool. But here for the past week, we wanted to launch our public beta, you know, go live on Product Hunt. We did pretty moderate engagement on Product Hunt, although I realized that because I was rookie with Product Hunt, that should have been a little bit more patient with it, maybe launch a little bit later on. But no worries there. There are ways around it, so we can get Endeavor back on Product Hunt in due time. Proposed to a possible co-founder. I did that. They took it very well. So I can share some more details on that. But very excited to see where that goes. Going to be patient with it though. We finished the high fidelity mockup, so got the thumbs up from our project manager for our current contracted development team that the mockups that these designers put together are code ready. And like I said, did not obtain our first 100 users. We're about a third of the way there, just reached 30. But I'm pretty confident we can get to 100 pretty soon. So kind of just recap of our KPIs, right? We launched failed in the sense of registered users, pretty moderate traffic, and pretty moderate users interviewed. And so what's next for us is to hire a UI UX co-founder, hire a full stack lead dev or co-founder, double down on our effective acquisition channels. We have a hackathon coming up here that we're the co-organizers of, and we'll have participants actually working on some stuff for us. Raise a seed round. We have a lead investor who's going to help us make that happen sometime this year. I'm going to be patient with that as well, though. And then possible rebrand, which I'm happy to share why we would rebrand with the team. But other than that, keep improving the targeting of our users, keep talking to users, and find ourselves a tech co-founder to write code. So thank you all, and I look forward to our call. Yeah, I think I covered basically everything. I thought I got the muzzle on. I guess not. The UI UX co-founder, the first one that I had listed, that is the first co-founder I proposed to and took it very well. They're actually one of the designers from the Springboard engagement that we had. Very, very skilled designer, but also extremely talented in product development, product ownership, managing a full tech team, and a phenomenal background in just user experience as well. I'm not sure which way it's going to go with, lead dev. Are they going to be a co-founder, or are we just going to hire somebody, bring them on with equity, and just hit the ground running, not throw the co-founder label on it? Not too sure. That search has been going on for a couple months now. Again, like I said in the video, it's something I want to be patient with. The capital, the seed round. So that we spent, when we were still Fielder and through the initial rebrand back in 239 Labs of Q4 2020. Even a little bit before that, we had pitched about a little over 40 angels, had been put on the watch list of a few of those individual angels or funds, and we then ourselves actually decided to put on hold because I don't want to do it in a sense of forced nature or that we're pressured to just raise capital because we needed to keep going. I want it to be really in the sense of I can't quite label it growth capital quite yet because we are still super early stage, and it is really to still help enhance product development, help get us to the next level. But at the same time, I do want it to be able to, how do I put it? I still want to be in the position of not having all the control or really say or terms kind of come up down to the investor because we just don't have any traction necessarily. So reason for that being patient. But we do have our lead investor who's helped us out in the past, and he's very well connected into a lot of VCs all across Florida. So pretty confident we're going to make that happen when we're ready. But honestly, yeah, it's the next few weeks and months. It's about really doing a better job of finding which channels are most effective for user acquisition. Starting to get a little bit of a sense for it, but just going to keep on hammering it every day, every week, and I think we'll start seeing more and more signs of what those channels are. And again, like I said, double down on those channels. One thing that's challenging, and then I'll turn it over to anybody who might have feedback, is for the past few years, and even my former startups I worked with and launched, has been all B2B. It's all been B2B. And so now, although we are earning affiliate commission from these organizations through their courses, it's very much a much more of a consumer market model. And so this is definitely a little bit of a new territory for me. So I'm starting to explore, starting to better understand reaching these types of users at scale, right? Used to being able to target a business and sell to a business and obtain thousands of users to one contract. So, gonna keep learning as I go. Hopefully bring on some of these co-founders and just keep on pressing forward.
Connor, are you able or interested, willing to share who your lead investor is? Create some FOMO for all the others?
Yeah, for sure. So, it's Anthony DeGotti. He's actually right on our website. He's in our little team section. Anthony DeGotti. He lives here. He's local. I don't want to call him local necessarily. He's originally from the Bay Area. He had a startup out in the Bay Area. He's big into VC. He's a VC, venture capitalist himself, angel investor himself. Mainly, his background is mainly prop tech and fintech. We are one of the first ed tech education platforms he stepped into. But him and I, we go back to, I want to say sometime in 2019 is when we had met, became colleagues, and worked on a few different projects, events over time, became friends over time, and he's become like that really one solid investor who, as an early stage founder in his early stage startup, like now, we're on for the ride together. Probably even for another startup I launched, like we're going to be, again, moving forward in another endeavor, another venture. So we found like, that good, really, really the right lead investor for our early stage position.
Cool. Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
What's the rebrand?
So okay, so good. Yeah, I totally forgot, and that's one thing I wanted to bring up and get your feedback on. So we're probably 98% moving to Miami. Myself and we, as in the company, moving the HQ out to Miami in December, January of this upcoming year, January 22. And I'm not sure if anybody knows of Endeavor Miami. But they are, Sven's nodding his head, yes. They've been there for quite a while. They are a pioneer of Miami's tech ecosystem. They have a lab, multiple incubators, accelerators. They're connected with everything tech and innovation in Miami. And so stepping into
they're a global organization, I think, actually, or at least national.
Okay, maybe national then. And so already knowing the relationships are overlapping like crazy, who I'm connecting with, who I'm working with, from local government all the way down to different startup founders. And so when we move our business over there, it's not about stepping on toes as much as it is about confusion during conversation, and really setting ourselves aside as a new startup coming into what's going to be a very an ecosystem that has a lot of attention right now. Let's put it that way. And so we really want to make sure we set ourselves aside and don't get mistaken for just the normal Endeavor that's already there. Plus, last thing I'll say, and then I'll open it up for feedback, is yes, we took 30 days to rebrand from Fielder, but at the same time, Endeavor was very much rushed. Tried to finish it before it was demo day for 239 Labs Accelerator. Kind of rushed the name of it, also rushed the actual branding, the design of it itself. So I'm not married to it by any means.
What's the new name?
I don't know. So that's why I put a star next to it, because it's a thought. It's just, hey, let me start thinking about this now. So all of a sudden it's January, we're moving over there, and I'm like, crap, should we name our business something else? It's like, let me start processing this in 8 months ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a big issue, except for that you are in the ed tech space, and they they probably do offer education and have courses, or so.
Totally. Yeah. Again,
that would be why I think it might be a good idea. But lots of people, lots of companies have similar names.
As a matter of fact, you could be upfront about it, right? But that's an opener right there. It's like, oh, you're with Endeavor? Well, yes, I am, but actually not the one you're thinking.
Right. You got it.
If I'm honest, I wouldn't like to be the one with the smaller budget to protect the name if ever they took a disagreement to it.
Yeah, from an IP perspective, you might be right.
That's a good way, really. Yeah.
So how come the decision for the last minute here to? I mean, I agree that's a bustling kind of startup ecosystem over there right now, but with being a remote first world, especially your customer being probably fairly distributed, have you toyed with the idea of just becoming a remote company?
You can be, I mean, honestly, we are a remote company right now. So yeah, I think that's honestly the best answer to give you. That's why I put quotations around, or air quotations around, HQ. Yes, I very much lean on 239 as our mailing address, as where I go for, or haven't in a while, our meetings, advisory meetings, stuff like that. Had sent clients there before. But for quite a while now, I've been completely remote, and going forward, that's what it's going to be. And so, again, the short answer to your question is, you can already consider us really a remote entirely company. And so, the Miami thing, number one, is not business necessarily as much as it's just me for 6 years now. Ever since I came down and moved here, I loved it here, but for 16 years now, I've wanted to go live out over there. And so, there's definitely a lot more to it than just the business. But I will be very honest, Sven, and I know this is going to hit home for you. Put it this way: after one phone call and a couple of weeks of connecting with the local government in Miami, I saw more support and a relationship with them and a complete stranger in Southwest Florida than I have by any Southwest Florida, any local government in 6 years that I've been here.
Yeah, small startup ecosystems have a lot of challenges for sure. I've seen it pretty much everywhere I lived over the last 10 years. Was very close to New York City, but it wasn't New York City. Every day I was in New York City. Shit just happens there, right, Elliot? Cool, awesome. So last but certainly not least, we'll check in with Ray and see if his phone's on.
Hey, co-starting crew. This is Ray with the last week in review for phone to email in the cohort, and I'm glad to report that this 4-week initiative has been a smashing success. We've blown away the original success criteria, which were all about how to go get those interviews. It was a conservative marker to start with, making sure something I could hit, but I didn't really expect that we were going to hit it and smash it out of the park like this by getting actually 9 of these interviews in the course of these last 4 weeks. And that's just as of this recording, and have yet more that are scheduled out. So she'll be deeply into the double digits by the time I'm finishing out April. The cohort also had commitments relative to consistency of being public, and that was really helpful. I tweeted almost every day, did write the blog post, although I think that was less important, and I attended the check-in events. One thing that I've also done that was about consistency in this particular cohort is, of course, these video updates that I think have been pretty helpful for my own accountability, as well as being able to bring the message out. So in the course of this cohort, we originally thought it was going to be all about just getting these interviews, and really by the end of week 2, it completed most of the all of the interviews actually that I needed for the requirements, and started turning my attention later in week 3 and really in this most recent week to the question of how to implement the lessons from those interviews, even as more of them were just flowing in. And this means trying to be even more public than I have been previously in an effort to defeat the lizard brain. The KPIs were mainly process KPIs leading into the interviews, and we blew those away, which was really fantastic. And then we're going to be looking at how to get more traffic onto the site through being even more public, using some paid acquisition as well as social, and also instrumenting to figure out which of these mechanisms are actually successful in driving traffic, driving to my data scientist roots. And then finally, stay public, stay public, stay public, both working in public more on a broadcast basis and being involved in communities. Co-starting has shown me the way on this, that 1 + 1 can really be something huge.
Fantastic. I love hearing all of that.
Congratulations.
Looked a little blippy to me. Did it come through okay?
Yeah, it was good on my side.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yep. Hey, Ray, first of all, congratulations. Excellent work. Very intrigued and inspired by what you're doing with the deep learning. With GA4, I actually saw that the other day, and maybe you can share with me what it is.
Yeah, sure. GA4 is Google Analytics 4, which is the new analytics platform that's successor to Universal Analytics. And my theory is if I'm trying to build a good platform for the future, just use the latest and greatest. This is the one that's only about 6 months old at this point, to the point where when it first came out, it was, hey, this is Google, this is beta, maybe you don't want to be using this in prod. But now there's 6 months of experience with it, and it's frankly pretty flexible, and as an analyst, looks really, really appealing. It also creates a bunch of opportunities for things like open source work, like the React app part of my application. There is no already pre-built good system for integrating it with GA4, so I'm able to further build in public and contribute back to the community by taking these elements, right, that are about instrumentation and just bringing them out through open source in addition to the more content specific stuff that I've been doing. Would love to get feedback from the rest of the group. I like thoughts you have, so I can maximize my wisdom intake here.
So the question I have, I mean, first, congrats, coming into this and getting and achieving, what you achieved. A question I have is, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from those interviews that's going to help you moving forward? Like what's the deployment of that knowledge?
Yeah, it stopped worrying so much about deep work. Deep work itself turns out to have been a bit of a red herring. As I sort of dove into this, what I found is there's sort of these different, I talked about 3 circles of trust. That was actually the most recent blog post I did. But there are also different circles of productivity, right? And when you're most inside your flow, the people who are serious about doing deep work, they're turning everything to not disturb, they're being very mindful about that level of flow, right? So tooling is less important because so much requires explicit intent that's done through user experience. But at the next level up, where I'm not deep in deep work, but I just don't want to be interrupted in general, issues of safety and being interrupted in the rest of my day, that's where this really adds value, right? So so understanding where it isn't, like being able to talk about issues of deep work is useful, but people who are thinking about how do I solve problems of deep work, this is probably not going to, if they're already into that, it's probably not going to solve the problem for them. But people who are more generally just annoyed by their spam calls, those people are more into it. Now, the people who are into deep work are also annoyed by the spam calls. So that's actually a pretty good cohort to go after. But the problem I'm solving for them isn't the deep work problem. It's the more general penumbra of annoyance. I may have to use that penumbra of annoyance.
Yeah. Apologize. I think I cut out at the first part to your answer there, so to apologize. But that makes sense. If you're going after people who are in deep work, they're so invested in what they're doing that they've probably found alternative solutions and maybe made behavioral changes to avoid this scenario. It's those who have the problem, like those who have the back pain but don't know what's causing it. They're potentially the ones. What goes on YouTube at the moment, I only get Monday.com ads, something like that. And it's the way they market is sort of is selling you on, hey, there's this alternative way to solve a problem that you had an annoyance, but you didn't know that there were these suites of ways to solve them. If I've got the gist of what you're saying, it feels like you're going for the more people who are at the earlier part of, this is just annoying, someone just solve it for me type.
That's just user. Right, both in terms of cohort and in terms of the level of pain. And that's telling me a lot about the messaging, or at least giving me hypotheses about the messaging, and then testing that messaging by doing the ad. So my theory is step 1 is deep interviews. Step 2, test messaging by using ads and instrumentation to understand where conversion comes in. And step 3, scale the messaging through organic channels, because that's what's going to be affordable in the long run.
Yeah.
And that is that's the longer term plan for 2021.
Great. Excellent.
And that target that Martin just mentioned, I guess, will find you through that organic means, because they are right. They don't really know about the world. They're not in it like you are. So they will look for these resources, and you just have to hopefully be in the right place.
Thank you, Bob Mesta. Yep, it's all demand side selling.
Well, I'm really just curious. I mean, first, congrats on the progress, and I'm really just curious of where it's going. So, I would love to hear in which direction it is developing.
You mean in terms of the product, or you mean just sort of keeping in touch with the journey?
Especially in terms of the product. I mean, both, but in terms of the product, I really look forward to seeing in a couple of months or so where it's going and how it can be useful. Because it sounds like it's going to be helpful, whether you go for the spam calls or the deep work. I think either one is interesting personally to me, but I feel like I mean, we did a customer discovery interview. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see, first of all, what the product can do, and of course also where you're going, because then I can, I'm curious, what other people's problems are, basically, to the extent that they require a product, which I can definitely see happening.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate the vote of interest, and a little more incentive to make sure that I keep up with working in public.
So I love hearing that right now, right? Because this is, of course, in part why there is co-starting. And one of the questions for all of you is, should we have another check-in in a month from now? We previously did it 2 weeks after, but I think that's too short. So I would love to keep regular, maybe even monthly, quarterly, whatever works for you guys, just with the same team and see where everyone's at, what the progresses are.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good.
I'd be down with that.
Awesome. Great. I'll get that on your books. Well, fantastic. Again, congrats to all of you. You guys are, of course, now part of the co-starting ecosystem. Stay in the Slack, stay engaged. I would love it. Keep learning from each other. If you haven't signed up for each other's mailing lists, do that. That's a great way to follow along. If they stop putting out content, tell them to not do that. Right? So this cohort kind of framework is only one step. I think there's a lot more we can do every now and then. We talk about, Ray was my sparring partner on Tuesday's meeting on, what could this all be and what is my plan for it. But if you take anything away from this, right, and I think every one of you said that you really benefited in one way or another from the last 4 weeks, keep that accountability up somehow, right? And if you guys are interested to do that in a more formalized fashion, let me know. I am experimenting with peer groups. We have one peer group already, which is more or less cohort 1 and one person from cohort 2, which have bound together. They meet weekly still and do have a similar format. Actually, it's more of what we've described earlier, where you now set your own weekly success criteria, right? Weekly goals, what are you trying to accomplish? And then just have the same exact conversations we had over the last 4 weeks. If any one of you is interested in one of those, let me know. If you guys want to do one together, I'm super happy to figure out how we can do that. That's what co-starting is all about.
Very cool.
Amazing. So any last parting words from anyone? Any questions, anything?
A huge thank you to you, Sven, for your commitment to us over the past few weeks, and definitely, to the continuous entrepreneurs going forward.
Absolutely.
And the further we went with this, I also thought the term accountability group is really the most fitting one.
Yes, 100%. Agreed. I totally thank you for saying that, Catherine. Yes.
Yeah, I start saying that more and more myself now, actually. Cool. Well, if there's nothing else, then I know it's late in Europe. Go keep building. Go do it in public and keep each other accountable. Thanks for being here. This was super fun over the last 4 weeks.
Nice.